Hello, I'm Mrs. J. So for number 1, to find the p-value, you first need to find your t, your test statistic. And if we look at this one, test the claim that the mean GPA of nights is smaller than 2.3. And that's why our mean, excuse me, was less than 2.3, because it says smaller than, which also means it's a left tail and it's one tail. Two tails is when you have both ends. But this one would just be, once we find our t value, it's below it. To find the t value, you take your mean from the study, which is right here, 2.27, minus the one from the null hypothesis, which was 2.3, divided by your standard deviation, which was 0.14, and divided by that by the square root of n, which I think was 31. Yep, right here, 31 people. Now if we calculate this, we get a negative 1.193. To find this, we use a t-table. So if we go to the t-table here, this is a t, and we're using the 1.19. Now remember, this is symmetric, so whether you use the positive or the negative, it's the same. And the t value shows you, it always shows less. So if we look up our degrees of freedom, which is n minus 1, we get 30. So 30 would be this one right here. Sorry. Here, and you want to look across it for the z value, the negative 1.1. So if we go where the 30 is, right there at the bottom, and we go across, 1.1 would be between these two. So our p-value is between these two. And I'm using the 0.15 and the 0.10 because it's one tail. If it were two tails, we'd use the bottom, but it's one tail. So it's 0.15 plus 0.1 all over 2. You're finding the middle. 0.1 divided by 2. You get 0.125. And so this would be your p-value. Now if we look at the answer, it's going to be off a little because they are using a computer, either Excel or a calculator. And so it uses more decimals and then rounded to this, where we were using ones already rounded. So these estimates can be off a little. Number 2, that's why I gave you full credit for it. This one, we're testing a t-value, but this one's testing two-tailed. It's not equal to. So when we have our curve, we're looking for this and this. And we want to find the p-value. We're testing not equal to 15 years, a random sample of 75, mean 17, standard deviation 7. First thing we need to do is find the t-value. And it would be from the mean from the sample minus the null hypothesis. Standard deviation was 7, and divided by sample size, which was 75. And we get 2.4 2.474. Remember, this one's two-tailed. And, oh, degrees of freedom. Now, sometimes when these degrees of freedom are large, you can't find them in the table, so you get one close to it. That's another reason that these are off compared to using a calculator or Excel. And so we're going to go degrees of freedom 74, and then we're going to go across and look for this value. So if I click on my normal table, 74, which I think we got to go with 80. So it's a little closer to 80 than 60. And we go across and we're looking for a 2.47. Go across 2. Be between these two. So then we go up, and it's the two-tail, so it's the bottom one. 0.02 plus 0.01 divided by 2. 0.015. And if we look at the answer, we have 0.0156. See, by rounding early, we're off. And that's what the tables do. They do have rounding, which is different than using the calculator. But when those pop up, just let me know. I always check at the end of the semester, and I go through and look for all of them in case they do come up. And if you have any questions, let me know. So this would be the p-value. And I did give you credit for those two because your answers were close. Or I did this one, but